What I have here is what is known as a possible Blacklock. Now, why is it called possible? Because nobody really knows what a Blacklock skillet really looks like. Hi, this is Russ. I wanted to let you know that I have a collection of cast iron, and I got into cast iron cooking several years ago. Not because of collecting, although I do have a number of cast iron skillets, more so for using. For many years I felt that using the old Teflon pans just wasn't cutting it for me. The Teflon eventually wears out, you're eating that stuff, that is not good. And so I felt that I wanted to get something different. So for years I kept saying, I'm gonna get myself a cast iron skillet. And I'd say that and we'd go out and buy another Teflon pan. So this went on for a while, and then I just finally said, that's it, I'm gonna find myself a cast iron skillet. And the interesting thing about cast iron is that you can buy new cast iron relatively inexpensively too. It's not very expensive things, but there's also older vintage cast iron as well. So I did a little bit of research and found out that some of the more desirable pieces were made from companies like Griswold, Wagner Weir. There's a ton of different cast iron companies that are collectible items now. So the first thing I actually bought was a Griswold. Let me pull a Griswold out here for you. And this was actually my first cast iron skillet. This is a number 8 Griswold. This is called a large logo Griswold because you can see there's a large logo here. And the interesting thing about these types of skillets is that these are very smooth and it's actually lighter in weight. So if you touch the surface of this, this is very, very smooth, and they're lighter. The walls are a little bit thinner. So overall, it's just built a little bit differently than today's cast iron. Let me show you what a typical cast iron today would look like. So let me show you this one. This one's a Lodge skillet. This is probably what most people will buy today. Lodge is, of course, the largest cast iron company. It's made here in the USA. And this is a little different piece. This one's actually a little bit of a collectible. Let me see how this goes. This goes, I guess, in this direction here. This is a seal. US seal, right? So it's a collectible piece, but it's still made the same way that Lodge currently makes their skillets. It's a rougher surface. You can hear that, even just rubbing this, you can hear that. It's a rougher surface, and they tell us that the reason they do it is because this allows the seasoning to stick to it when they manufacture it. Now, the interesting thing about seasoning is that you have to have seasoning on there. What is seasoning? It's a layering of oils and things that collect on here, and that's going to help keep it, well, stick-free. But a lot of people don't like that because it's rough. They used to mill these out. They don't do it any longer. Although there are some other companies today, like Field Company, for instance, they have smooth skillets, and my son-in-law actually purchased one for me as well. I'm not going to show that to you today, but the reason I'm actually showing you these things today is because recently Lodge had come out with a line of skillets called Blacklock. Now the Blacklock company has been since the late 1800s, 1890s, I believe, somewhere in the 1890s. But that foundry actually burnt down, I believe, around the 1910 ranges, something like that. And when that happened, the company reformed and basically it became Lodge, all right? So I wanted to show you what I have here is what is known as a possible Blacklock. Now, why is it called possible? Because nobody really knows what a Blacklock skillet really looks like. We're not 100% sure what a Blacklock looks like, but there are some characteristics that pretty much most people who are into cast iron will agree could put this into a Blacklock skillet. All right, so let me show you real quickly what that is. Smooth surface. This is actually the smoothest surface I have for a skillet. And as far as seasoning wise, this thing is amazing. Well, it's over 100 years old if it's truly a Blacklock, right? So here's what we're looking for. There's a number right here. It's number 8. Let me put this a little closer here. And this is raised. This is the number that's raised. And the style of the handle is done a certain way. You can see it's actually kind of jagged in here too. It's just the way they were back then. And on the back, there's a mark over here too. And this is the person probably who put this thing together. And the handle is kind of indented in here. So it's a little bit different type of look. And also the heat ring, all right? This part here is on the outside of the skillet, okay? Let me show you again what the typical Griswold would look like here. So if you look at the Griswold has a heat ring too, but again, it's on the inside here. And it's not very prominent, it's very thin. But if you look at the possible Blacklock, it actually stands out. There's actually a certain thickness of it here, and it's right on the outer edge. So these things are the factors that kind of stand out what could be possibly a true Blacklock skillet. Now in my mind, from looking at a whole bunch of other skillets out there from different people who claim to have Blacklocks, we all have skillets that kind of look like this. And recently, a Facebook friend of mine, Beverly, she sent a request to Lodge asking if this particular skillet from me is a true Blacklock skillet. So she sent them a photo, and then I've followed up and showed them photos of the front, of the back, and also of the handle. And the response we got back from Lodge Cast Iron was, in fact, this could very well be an actual Blacklock, because they say that it does have all the characteristics that they know of that would constitute a true Blacklock. So in my mind, this is an actual Blacklock skillet. Is there some value to this? Probably, probably. Will I ever give it up? No, this is mine forever. And this will be handed down to my relatives afterwards too, because cast iron kind of keeps going, so it doesn't really wear out. So I'm gonna cook something on this thing today. I'm gonna cook a steak, and we'll see how this performs. But overall, of all the skillets that I have, this is probably my favorite skillet. It's a little heavy. A lot of people like lightweight, and in fact, the new Blacklock series that Lodge has come out with is a lighter weight. But the new Blacklocks are, again, a textured type interior, although they do season it 3 times, and that makes it a little smoother. But hey, kind of hard to beat the real thing, right? So anyways, I'll cook some stuff to you today, and then we'll see how this performs. So today I'm going to make a T-bone steak. This is just your standard T-bone steak from your average grocery store, nothing fancy or anything special. But it'll be a typical thing I would do with a skillet. I've gone ahead and preheated the skillet in a 400-degree oven, and that'll make it a little bit easier when I put the oil in there. It'll spread a lot quicker. And of course, I don't have to wait for the skillet to come to temperature. So definitely need some type of protection on the handle. That thing has been sitting in a 400-degree oven, so always use some type of oven mitt. And you'll see immediately this thing will start searing. You can see the oil splashing all over. And yeah, it gets a little messy. You could use a screen if you wanted to kind of help that along, but I wanted to leave it open so that you can see the process. I'll put a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper on the top. And of course, after that has browned on the bottom a little bit, I'll flip it over and I'll salt and pepper the other side too. You could, of course, salt and pepper beforehand. And using that large pepper bottle, the pepper gets all over the place. It's a little bit of a mess, but I'll clean it all up a little later. You can see there is some browning there, and you can leave it longer if you like. If you like it a little bit browner, that's perfectly fine. The inside, of course, is not really cooking that well. The outside, obviously, is going to. So what I tend to do is I will finish this up in the oven. And I added a little extra oil because I felt it kind of needed it a little bit, but it's your decision. You know, the steak will typically self-release, and when it sticks a little bit, it will self-release if it's ready. So you don't really have to worry that it's actually gonna stick on this thing, because it really does not. So I've sped everything up 8 times just to make life a little bit easier to watch this video, and that will make for a quicker video, of course. So once we're finished, I always double check with a ThermalWorks thermometer, and I'm going for about 135 to 140 degrees, which is typically the range for medium, but I believe this is probably a little bit past medium. Left it in a little bit too long. It's okay, it's not a big deal. So we'll give it a taste and see what it tastes like. You can see that's what it looks like at this point. But overall, I think it tastes pretty good. It's not bad. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and definitely hit the bell icon, because that'll tell you when new videos come out. We'll talk to you guys next time.